And good evening. I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, cracking down. The White House tonight fighting back in a big way against deadly disinformation about COVID vaccines, much of it coming from Republican lawmakers and right-wing media. Sources telling CNN the administration is taking on a new, more aggressive strategy as the CDC today, for the first time since late April, is projecting that COVID hospitalizations are expected to spike. Now, in Los Angeles County, every COVID patient hospitalized right now is unvaccinated. Across the country, more than 99% of all COVID-19 deaths right now are among the unvaccinated. And yet, the number of people getting vaccinated has plunged. Why? Well, in large part, it is because of messages like this.
I'm not vaccinated, and until there's some science.
I've just made my own personal decision that I'm not getting vaccinated.
Now, I'm talking to doctors who have, since day one, been concerned about vaccinating people who have already had COVID, because you die not of COVID, you die of the immune system overreaction to COVID.
Don't come knocking on my door with your Fauci outie. You leave us the hell alone.
Now they're starting to talk about going door to door to be able to take vaccines to the people. And think about what those mechanisms could be used for. They could then go door to door, take your guns. They again go door to door, take your Bibles.
Okay. It's not just skepticism and fear-mongering from lawmakers, of course. Right-wing media reaches millions of Americans.
The idea that you would force people to take medicine they don't want or need, is there a precedent for that in our lifetimes? I honestly think this is the greatest scandal of my lifetime by far.
I feel like a vaccination in a weird way is just generally kind of going against nature. Like, I mean, if there is some disease out there, maybe there's just an ebb and flow to life where something's supposed to wipe out a certain amount of people.
There's nothing more anti-democratic, anti-freedom than pushing an experimental drug on Americans against their will.
Hello to door-to-door vaccine pushers.
The fight to control you, to lord over you, that's just begun.
It's stunning. All of those people are smart enough to know that what they're saying is complete bullshit. And that's the problem. They should be ashamed. But those lies are having an impact. Listen to what our Donnie O'Sullivan heard from some Trump supporters over just the past few weeks.
If the vaccine goes into our child, she'll just die. That's all there is to it.
You thought if your daughter took the vaccine, she might die?
That she would die. Not might, just like would.
Do you know any people who got sick or died from the virus?
I know 3 people who got it and died. But you know what? I know people who got cancer and died too.
So you know 3 people who died from coronavirus and you won't get the vaccine?
No, I don't. Like I said, I don't need the vaccine.
And sadly, the debate over the vaccine, which should just be basic science so we could save lives, now mirrors 2020 election results in so many cases. Just look at Vermont, where Biden won with 66% of the vote. 66% of the state's population is now fully vaccinated. In Tennessee, 61% voted for Trump, and the percentage not vaccinated, 62%. And that could explain why Tennessee is seeing a spike right now when it comes to cases. In fact, they've more than tripled from a month ago. But it isn't easy. The White House is fighting a war over disinformation, telling people that the single best thing they can do is get the vaccine, which is true. They're also confronting the realities of a dangerous variant that is causing legitimate confusion. The acting FDA commissioner today saying, we don't think boosters are needed at the current time. Yet that isn't what Pfizer says. Pfizer warns that immunity from its vaccine could be waning, and they want the FDA to authorize booster shots that could be needed as soon as 6 months of the second dose. Here's the head of Pfizer's vaccine research and development overnight.
The booster situation is not about making money. The booster situation is that we find ourselves in a terrible situation.
She went on to say the virus is mutating in the unvaccinated. So in other words, the whole reason this is a terrible situation is because of people not getting vaccinated and the people responsible for telling them not to do so. She says the outcome will be a, quote, disaster without boosters. U.S. government scientists and Pfizer are not currently sending the same message on the boosters. But what Pfizer is saying is now playing out in Mississippi, where the state health officer is also sounding an alarm. According to Dr. Thomas Dobbs, fully vaccinated Mississippians now account for 12% of COVID hospitalizations. 2 weeks ago, that number was 5%. Again, it's a really low vaccinated state. Variant has time to go around. A lot of virus out there. More people get sick and die. Dobbs claiming that 7% of all deaths were among vaccinated Mississippians. Jeff Zeleny is out front live outside the White House. And Jeff, you've been talking to your sources there. What more are you learning about what the White House plans to do to combat all the disinformation, of which I just played some brief clips, right, from both elected representatives and members of the right-wing media?
Aaron, and that's only a small sample of it, quite frankly. The White House has been watching all of this very carefully, and they are deciding to begin engaging much more forcefully. That is going to begin tomorrow here in a pretty dramatic way. The Surgeon General of the United States, we are told, Dr. Vivek Murthy, will be presenting a study here at the White House, essentially calling all this disinformation and misinformation a public health crisis. So they are going to really be pointing out the ways in which this is simply a matter of life and death. Specifically calling out social media platforms, specifically calling out elected officials and others who have been peddling in this misinformation. Now, the White House has been a little reluctant to weigh in because they are trying to actually get people to get vaccinated. So they do not want to politicize this further. But now they do believe they have to push back against this disinformation campaign. Also, though, they're going to ask for help from average citizens and businesses as well to push back against this disinformation campaign. But, Aaron, it's an open question if any of this will work because, of course, so many people are just getting their information from one channel. They're only talking about one side, a non-realistic side of this vaccine.